about here. Derek Bell dropped his top 10 players for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2023. Here's the list. Najee Harris tops it off at number 10, followed by George Pickens. Isaac Seumalo makes the list. They new left guard for the Steelers, James Daniels. Right guard, Pat Freiermuth comes in at 6. Alex Highsmith, 5. Deontay Johnson, 4. Cam Hayward, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and TJ Watt top off the top 3. You look at this list, thoughts, opinions. What were you thinking?
I think he has many of the right players. Like, I think he's got a lot. I got most of the right guy, like a vast majority of the right guys. I would maybe flip a couple. Like, I think Najee would go ahead of Pickens in my book. I think Seumalo is a little bit better than James Daniels. Pat Freiermuth maybe a little lower, but no major gripes, except for Deontay Johnson at number 4.
Oh,
I'm sorry, he's not better than Alex Highsmith. He's not. I don't think he's better than. I don't know. I guess it kind of depends on what George Pickens is this year. I don't think Deontay is going to be the best receiver on the team, much less the 4th best player on this team by the end of the year. That's ambitious, man. I don't know about that. That's like, maybe he gets there. Maybe he does have this great turnaround, but the drops, like the mistakes in important moments.
Yes.
And that's the thing with those top 3 guys. I think the way they separate themselves is like not just making plays regularly, but making them in impact moments and being big time players in clutch moments. And Deontay Johnson has just not been that guy. Like, he's been fine, but he hasn't been that guy, honestly.
Yep, I agree. Deontay was the biggest for me at number 4. And don't get me wrong, like, I try so hard to give Deontay all his props because I think Deontay Johnson is just a phenomenal wide receiver. I think that he's, people talk a lot of trash on this guy for a guy that, he does. He's got drops in big moments. That's got to fix. It's got to be fixed. It need to be fixed for the last 2-3 seasons. It just seemingly hasn't. And at this point, the knocks on him are probably warranted. Alex Highsmith, I'm definitely putting above him. And if we're being honest, like, I think Isaac Seumalo needs to jump up this list.
Yeah,
pretty significantly. Too. I think that he's coming off of a Super Bowl run. He's almost immediately their top offensive player or offensive lineman. James Daniels maybe gives him a run for his money, but I think James Daniels moves up too. Like, I think those 2 players deserve a little bit more credit here. Alex Highsmith to me is definitely number 4. Yeah, that's my biggest change there. I think if you're gonna keep Pat Freiermuth at number 6, which I think you're gonna drop him down. I think Pat maybe slides to 7. Yeah. Deontay,
and I don't think that's Pat, like, has anything to do with Pat. By the way, I just think, like, there are guys that are like, I don't think Pat's bad. It's like Deontay, I'm dropping him down because I don't think he is as good as that number 4 spot. But like Pat, I think you're moving him down just because other guys were rated too low.
Yes. I think Pat maybe drops to 7 just for that reason. I think Isaac might be number 5, and then maybe Deontay number 6. I don't want to drop because, like, I don't think Deontay Johnson should go below Pat Freiermuth. I think that he's better than Pat Freiermuth. I think that could change by the end of the season, but I think right now that holds enough ground. The James Daniels thing, it depends on if you're going to move James Daniels up. But I think that if I'm redoing it, TJ, Minkah, Cam, Alex Highsmith definitely is number 4. Isaac Seumalo, and then Deontay, and then Pat, and then I guess James Daniels, George Pickens, Najee Harris. A lot of people say Najee should be a lot higher on this list. Do you agree?
Not a lot higher because, and like, maybe he could, like you said, maybe if you move down Pat to, I don't know, 8 or something, you could, or you could, like, have Najee leapfrog him into that 8 spot or something. But I do think Najee's a little low. I think he's going to be really, really important this year, and I think he's set up for a really big year. And I think, if we save this and we look back at the end of the year, Najee could get up to, he could maybe even pass James Daniels, quite honestly, depending on the kind of year he has. If he's kind of the same, like, bell cow back, driving the offense with the way he runs, like, running the football is going to be really important, and Najee's their best runner. So just doing the math from that, if this team is as good as I think people are going to, as people hope or think that they might be, Najee is going to look a lot better than the number 10 player on this team.
Yeah, I agree. I think Najee could move up, but I think it's a gotta wait and see type of situation. Who do you think, just looking at this list, or maybe even outside of the list, who do you think in your head could make the largest jump at the end of 2023?
Well, I think there's an argument for Pickens.
Yep.
I think that's certainly one. Although but also like if George Pickens makes a huge leap, you have to assume that Kenny Pickett is tied to it. Because I don't
Yes.
know where you would rank Kenny Pickett on this list, but if George Pickens is having a big year, so is Kenny Pickett. Like that's about automatic.
Yep.
Like Kenny Pickett could definitely jump into the top 10 if he takes maybe a little bit better of a leap than people are expecting. He's probably still on the outside if he kind of takes a reasonable year two jump. But yeah, probably I look at the passing offense the most because I think that's where there's a lot of potential, but not necessarily sure things. So I'd probably say Kenny, quite honestly.
Yep, I think so. I think Kenny Sneaks is the guy that I expect to move into the top 10, which that's tough because you look at this top 10, like who's he going to replace? I think is the biggest question. Like who do you, and like as much as we're going to say this, like I think Deontay might be the guy that slides out if Kenny slides in, or maybe Isaac, maybe James Daniels, I guess, because offensive linemen are like easier to move around. But like it's not like TJ's not going anywhere unless he gets hurt. Minka's not going anywhere. Same reason. Cam Hayward, unless Father Time catches him this season, it's hard to say he's dropping out of there. Alex Highsmith, maybe. Alex Highsmith could definitely fall off, but I have a hard time believing that one.
Yeah.
I would say Deontay and Pat Freiermuth and Najee would be my three guys that I think, if you're going to slide guys in, would be my expectation for them to slide out, which isn't good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But at the same time, like, maybe it is good because you definitely want your quarterback in here. Like at the end of this season, your second year quarterback should be in the top, and he should be pushing for the number one spot. Like if maybe not at the end of 2023, but at the end of 2024, like Kenny Pickett should be really on the butt of Minkah Fitzpatrick. Like he should be, it should be really hard to have that conversation of who's better. And Doug, like Minkah's a generational TJ Watt. Like those guys are almost impossible to beat out, but Kenny should be in the conversation. I would say Pickens is probably the guy that I think could make the biggest jump, but I think I agree with you. Kenny Pickett, they just go hand in hand. So it would be like, if one's going to move up significantly, Kenny's going to move up. And I don't think Kenny's like anywhere near the top 10 right now. So I think that it'd be a pretty significant jump for him to get into the top 10. I'm going to toss out a name for you that I think could land on this list in 2023. Jaylen Warren, I think, could make his way into the bottom half of this list. I think Najee's still going to be the bell cow. And I think that the outlook for the season right now should be that Najee Harris is going to be the guy that has a great year in the backfield. But if Jaylen Warren can impress and go off and have himself a year, like I was looking at the Athletic put out a story the other day of everybody's, EPA, which is estimated points added, I believe. Yeah. And Jaylen Warren was first in the NFL last season, number one. And I get that his touches were limited, his targets were limited. I think that if he could have a great year and really become that RB1, RB2 dual system that the Steelers want, I just think that the Steelers could rely on their run game enough to where both of those guys can make their way into the top 10. And like, that's what like Matt Canada doesn't want to do it, but man, Art Rooney would lose his mind if two running backs were just having themselves a season in Pittsburgh, 100%.
Right. I mean, there's absolutely a situation where Jaylen Warren rushes for like 400 yards and catches 300 yards out of the backfield, like, and scores, I don't know, like maybe not double-digit touchdowns, but like he can be a weapon, and I could absolutely see that because, like, again, if you're leaning on the running game, like George Pickens is going to drop out, Deontay's going to drop out, Kenny won't really be as much of a contender. So, yeah, I could absolutely see that. That's definitely a dark horse. I don't completely hate that. It'd be tough. Like they'd really have to be as run heavy as, I don't even know who ran the most last year, but yeah, it would have to. I wouldn't say it's likely, but like Jalen
Yeah.
Warren is probably one who's maybe not even in the top 20 right now, maybe top 25, who could jump into, who has as good a chance as any to jump into that top 10.
Yeah, I'd say definitely a dark horse. A second dark horse for you, Calvin Austin.
Okay. Don't hate
Right?
that. That would be,
Right?
I feel like he'd have to make some kind of impact. He'd have to be like a return guy making some
Returner.
kind of,
Yep.
yeah.
I think he could just be all around explosive. And then, because like Calvin Austin's not working his way up to like top 5. But like sitting there at number 10 at the end of 2024, if you got George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, and Calvin Austin sitting there with like Kenny Pickett, I just think this list could look very different in 2024 if the right things happen. But at the same time, like again, like Pat Fryermuth getting knocked out of the top 10 is going to be tough. Isaac Seumalo, James Daniels, tough. Alex Highsmith, no chance. Cam Hayward, Minka, PJ, very different. Like it's going to be a tough list to crack for a new guy. I think that's the biggest thing here is that it's, if you're going to do it, it's going to be a challenge. 100%. I don't know. We'll see. But it's a good list. Shout out to Derek. You guys haven't checked out.
Hang on. It's something we should hang on to. Do this. We can do this again when the season's over and see what we got right, what we got wrong, where
we should. I'll add it to the post-it notes. I have a thing of post-it notes right behind the camera here that just have. It's just like little post. I'm a big post-it notes guy. Like big post-it notes guy, and I have them all behind the camera of things that at some point later in the season we have to go back to, like the win totals. I don't even know whose win totals these are, but there's 2 win-loss totals for 2024, and somebody's going to be right, somebody's going to be wrong because they're different win totals. But we'll get to that when the time comes. But we should definitely go back to this mid-season, even see how things are looking, because I'm telling you, I think that list could be a little different for the Pittsburgh Steelers come next year.